Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Hazel here with a new video for you. In this video, we'll dive into ranking Earth Jutsu from weakest to strongest from the Naruto anime. I just wanted to greet you guys by saying, just sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So let's get started. In today's deep dive, we'll be ranking Earth Nature Ninjutsu from the story of Naruto. See the previous videos on Fire and Water Jutsus for an idea of what we'll be doing. The order of the videos doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but if you want to watch the videos chronologically, they are available on our channel. For those who have watched the video and need a refresher, and for those who are new to this video type, this is a video where we list various Earth-based jutsu from the world of Naruto. Naruto, for the uninitiated, is a series about a blonde young boy named Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto starts as a ninja in training with aspirations to become the leader of his village. Unfortunately for him, he is burdened with the status of Jinchuriki, meaning he is a living sacrifice, the host to a demon spirit known as the Nine-Tailed Fox, a monster who almost destroyed his village on the day he was born. Talk about trauma. To prove his worthiness of the title of Hokage, leader of his village, Naruto must master his mind, body, and spirit, attaining both skill and expertise in various jutsu. Jutsu is the magic system of the world of Naruto, using a research known as chakra. People can perform supernatural tasks, from moving at superhuman speeds to creating illusions, to creating duplicates, to summoning the elements themselves to do battle against their opponent. Like I said before, today we'll be looking at Earth Nature Jutsu. Like with previous videos, we will be mostly using only ranked jutsus in the manga, avoiding anime-only jutsus, and we won't use Kekkai Genkai or other multi-element combination jutsus. Jutsus are normally ranked from E through A rank, then up to S rank for the elite jutsus. Like the other chakra natures, in testament to its advanced nature, we are starting the jutsu ranks from D rank. Earth-released jutsus encompass any earth material, from dirt to stone to clay, and often entails changing the type of earth from one to another. For most earth-released jutsu, the user places the palms of their hand on the ground and manipulates the earth with their chakra. Less commonly, users can generate the earth within their bodies via chakra, which is then ejected from their mouth. Offensive earth techniques entail using the generated to form projectiles or using the earth already around them to change the terrain to form projectiles or hazards. Targets can be trapped within domes of rock or muddy pits that they sink into. However, earth nature jutsus are often more defensive than offensive, being used to create fortifications, or even more simply, used to burrow into the ground to either escape conflicts or set up ambush points. Earth-style jutsus are the signature of Iwakagure, the village hidden in the stone. The first and only D-rank jutsu on this list is Earth Release, double suicide decapitation technique, also known as the headhunter technique. The technique has the user sink into the earth, then use their chakra to raise their hands out of the ground. They then grab the target and drag them into the earth, leaving only the head exposed. Because the victims are unable to move in this state normally, they are easily subjected to torture or decapitation. The technique provides a good level of stealth against non-sensor type ninja, and it provides a decent effect. A trapped enemy is neither able to use hand signs nor run away, making it somewhat weak against physically powerful shinobi. The user of the technique is either immobile or very slow-moving, making the technique less useful in direct conflict with an opponent of similar strength or against multiple targets. The Earth Release Underground Projection Fish technique is a technique with a niche use case. This C-rank jutsu allows the user to rise from the ground silently, making the earth move around the user like a liquid and raising them from the earth. It is a fantastic aid for assassinations, guerrilla attacks, and ambushes, but the movement itself is quite slow. If the user is spotted by an enemy as they utilize the technique, they leave themselves vulnerable to retaliation. This technique also requires the user to already be within the earth to utilize the technique, which required the expenditure of chakra in another jutsu. The Earth Release, hiding like a mole technique, is a C-rank technique that has few issues. It allows the user to change the earth into fine sand, allowing them to dig through the earth like a mole. The effect seems to follow the person, allowing them to move their entire body through the earth with very little resistance, making it a decent technique for underground travel. The user can pinpoint where they are despite being underground through the sensing of magnetic forces and are given information about what's happening on the surface and use that information to launch a surprise attack on the enemy. This technique is useful for ambushing and retreating and leaves no traces on the ground like the headhunter technique, making it quite useful for espionage and scouting. But in direct combat, the technique is relatively lacking. It is, however, a reliable form of stealthy travel. The technique Earth Release, Earth Shall Return has the user slam their hand into the ground. The strength of the slam and the chakra release launches a slab of earth perpendicular to the ground, turning it into a wall. The wall acts as a shield, blocking both projectile and physical attacks. The technique is strictly defensive, but is quite powerful. However, the wall of the earth has a limited range. Earth Release, Tearing Earth, Turning Palm, is the first directly offensive technique we will be covering. By placing the palm of their hand on the ground, the user breaks up and shifts the local earth. The better the user can manipulate their chakra, the more damage they can inflict to the immediate area. The technique can hurt enemies and buildings simply by the loss of balance from the broken up earth, and it can provide a change in the territory's environment, providing shifts in the makeup of the battlefield. The technique scales with the user's power and can be utilized by multiple people in tandem for greater effects, making it a decently versatile technique. Unfortunately, it has the weakness of being mostly useless against mostly airborne enemies. The Earth Release Subterranean Voyage feels like a combination of the best aspects of the Headhunter technique, the Hiding Like a Mole technique, and the Underground Projection Fish technique. The technique allows the user to move rapidly through the earth as if it was a liquid, giving them the ability to strike swiftly and silently against an enemy. This makes the technique a fantastic traveling, stealth, and ambush technique. Most earth techniques at this level are supplementary, but a supplementary ability capable of doing multiple things is often better than a supplementary ability that can only do one thing. This makes this technique possibly the best C-ranked Earth Release technique. The first B-rank technique we will look at is Earth Release Earth Mausoleum Dumpling. Using chakra and great physical strength, the user lifts a huge volume of nearby earth. The dirt is so large it can cast a shadow over the opponent or opponents. This technique targets a relatively wide range and doubles as an intimidation technique, scattering enemies and causing serious destruction at its point of impact. The technique is relatively slow to release, providing an opportunity for the enemy to retaliate with ranged attacks of their own, making the technique risky against quick-witted enemies. Earth Release Tracking Fang technique is a jutsu that doesn't deal direct damage, nor does it manipulate the user directly. Rather, it uses Earth Nature Chakra to affect another type of jutsu, the summoning technique. It allows the user to summon a pack of ninken, ninja dogs, underground. The ninken can use their superior sense of smell to track down a target who is otherwise completely hidden from the user. They then close in on the target and hold them down with their vicious fangs and jaws, allowing the summoner to finish off the enemy. Ninken, despite being another living creature, can be classified as a tool in the ninja's arsenal, much like kunai, throwing stars, and swords. This means that while this technique is a combination of a different kind of jutsu, it does not stray too far from the definition of a single nature type jutsu. This technique requires the user to be contracted with the dog summoning scroll, however, limiting who can use it, and while ninken are skilled and resourceful allies, they are about as vulnerable as a regular animal is to a skilled shinobi's weapons, making them less useful against powerful opponents and wide area attacks. Earth Release Earth Flow Divide requires the user to concentrate chakra from one's palm into the dragon veins. Dragon veins are an Eastern concept, in that energy flows underground, usually along with mountain ranges, similar to the Western concept of ley lines. The technique has someone manipulate the mass of chakra underground to tear the earth apart and create large chasms. The length, width, and curve of the chasm are shaped and fashioned by the user, allowing the user almost unlimited options of battlefield control based on their skill in manipulating chakra. Due to the control required, the user needs either expert control or great chakra reserves to reach out to the dragon veins, but once they access them, the chakra required to shape the earth is not theirs, making the technique both powerful and cost-efficient. However, to use this technique, the user must be near a dragon vein and must be able to sense and manipulate it, making it a technique that has a limited use case. Earth Release Opening Earth Rising Excavation is a technique designed to bring something up from the surface that was deep underground. This ironically means that an Earth Jutsu is the greatest attack against Earth Jutsus designed to have the user hide underground. The targets are launched into the air with great strength and speed, the result of which has the appearance and nearly size of an erupting volcano. This massive version of the technique requires a massive amount of chakra, but the anime shows that it is possible to release a smaller scaled version of the attack for less chakra, making the ability much more flexible than first thought. In the manga, the technique has only been performed by 2 users together, but the anime shows the possibility of a single user summoning a smaller scaled version with multiple earth pillars. This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Staying safe online is an ever-growing difficulty, and hackers could exploit you. NordVPN allows you to change your IP address, making you harder to track, securing your privacy. In addition to providing you with safe passage through the web, you can also expand the reach of your favorite streaming services. Are you tired of going through 2, 3, or even 4 streaming services to watch your favorite anime? I know I get tired of it. Well, with NordVPN, you can change your country and be able to binge shows like My Hero Academia, Naruto, and many others on your favorite streaming service with just a press of a button. Check out the link in the description to get 72% off when buying for 2 years, $3.29 a month. This deal is for a limited time. And thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. Earth Release Rock Lodging Destruction is a technique that uses a tiny bit of chakra for massive effects. The technique has the user cause a cave-in by destroying the balance within this cave. Much like a house, some cave systems have supporting structures that act as keystones that keep the structure in equilibrium. The destruction of that keystone breaks the foundation and the cave falls apart. It is a favorite tactic of the Iwakagure ninja and has far-reaching effects. Few people have the strength, speed, or technique to escape or survive being crushed by a massive cave-in, and in tandem with other techniques that allow the ninja to pass through the earth with ease, this technique is a very strong tactical technique. Like the earth flow divide technique, it requires the environment to be set in a specific way, but is more feasible to find or even create a cave system in comparison to finding a dragon vein. Earth Release, Earth-style wall is a strong defensive technique in which the user creates a protective wall out of the earth. The user can do this by either generating the earth via molding chakra within their own body, or by using pre-existing earth directly. The former technique is stronger, while the latter technique requires less chakra and thus can cover a wider area. Kakashi Hatake, one of the major characters in the series, later increases the power of the technique by generating quartz crystals all along the walls. The earth-style jutsu is normally resistant to fire and water jutsus due to its protective coating of chakra, but it, like all earth jutsus, is especially vulnerable to lightning-style chakra. The quartz generation nullifies this weakness, making the technique an effective defense to most, if not all, projectiles. The technique, however, continuously drains chakra while it is active. When the flow of chakra is cut off, the walls become more vulnerable. Earth Release Added Weight Rock technique has the user enhance the gravity of a target at the user's discretion. On an enemy, this can limit their mobility by a great amount, crushing them under the force of their gravity and weight. In some cases, the opponent can exhibit petrification-like systems and then begin to crumble. If in a desert region or anywhere else with relatively soft earth, the user can cause a target's weight to be so great they are buried alive. The technique has a secondary use when the user applies the technique to themselves. The user's speed will be decreased as well, but the increased weight drastically increases the force of their strike, making it possible for a normally weak person to land a devastating attack. This technique can be used in tandem with the Earth Release Fist Rock technique, which encases the user's arm in stone to create a melee attack with increased damage and surface area. Earth Release Earth-style Rampart is directly derived from the Earth-style wall technique. It creates a gigantic rampart beneath the user's feet, adding a tactical advantage on large-scale battlefields. The earth can also be shaped into a steep, needle-like mountain or anything else that suits the user's desires. This level of terrain control is more focused than most other earth manipulation jutsus, but in exchange requires a large amount of chakra to be utilized. Earth Release Earth Spear has the user flow earth nature chakra through all or parts of their body, causing their skin to noticeably darken. This technique increases their defensive power, making their skin as hard as diamond. This technique makes the user nearly impervious to most, if not all, attacks and jutsus except for those of lightning nature. The destructive power of their physical attacks also increased without slowing them down, making this technique a direct upgrade in comparison to Earth Release Added Weight Rock, while providing increased defense at the same time. As mentioned before, the technique is vulnerable to lightning-based chakra, which cuts through the defense with little to no resistance. The Earth Release Sandwich technique creates two enormous rock formations that close in on the opponent with tremendous force. Anything in between the two rocks is smashed to pieces, and the size of the formation can be regulated by the amount of chakra used to formulate the technique. With enough chakra, the technique can dwarf even massive creatures like the tailed beast, which often stretched in size by tens of meters, or even the 10 tails, a creature that was hundreds, if not over 1,000 meters tall, a creature so large that it could hold a monster the size of several large buildings in the palm of its hand. This technique's high power comes at a cost, requiring both high amounts of chakra and chakra control. Earth Release Barrier Earth Prison Dome of Magnificent Nothingness is a devastating technique for the unprepared opponent. The user creates a dome of dirt, rock, or stone around the target or targets, trapping them inside. The walls of the dome have chakra flowing within, which quickly repairs any damage that the prisoners may do to it. If the user remains in contact with the dome, they can absorb the chakra of those who are imprisoned, making them weaker over time. This chakra can be used to both bolster the reserves of the user and reinforce the power of the dome, making it nigh invincible at the point of contact with the user while weakening the chakra of the enemy inside the dome, lowering their chance of escape over time. The glaring weakness of this technique is the fact that chakra is not evenly distributed, meaning that at the furthest section of the dome from the user, the most damage can be done before the dome can regenerate. If the prisoner can determine where the dome is its weakest, they can use a sufficiently powerful enough attack to break out. Of course, sheer power can easily break one out of the technique regardless of the location, but the longer it takes for a victim to realize they are losing chakra, the less chance they have of escaping, or of being in any shape to fight, even if they do muster the power to escape. The technique's major weakness is the fact that to keep the dome going, the user must remain in place, making them vulnerable to attacks from the outside. Earth Release Lightweight Rock Technique is the counterpart to Added Weight Rock Technique. This technique reduces one's gravity, making them, or whatever target they choose, much lighter. The atmosphere around them, along with their body, can be lightened to take flight and increase their maneuverability. With enough practice, the user can control their flight through the sky with specific bodily movements. This technique provides unbridled air maneuverability at this advanced stage, allowing the user to view a battlefield from a distance, escape otherwise inescapable jutsus, and attack from the air. However, the technique has a strong weakness as the opposite of the added weight rock technique. The technique weakens the force of physical attacks due to the lowered weight. With enough mastery, however, this maneuver provided a hidden feature. Onoki, the third Tsuchikage of Iwagakure, was capable of touching a target and taking away their gravity. This could make a target who was unused to the technique unable to fight effectively, opening them up to attacks from the enemy without fear of severe retaliation. A sufficiently skilled user could also grant the ability of flight to a group of allies, allowing multiple warriors to move out of the way of deadly attacks. The technique had a more advanced version, the super lightweight rock technique. The advanced version was so powerful that the user could apply the technique to something as massive as a meteor or even an island, reducing the impact of such a mass of Earth and giving the user the ability to lift it. The only A-ranked jutsu named as A-ranked within the series was the technique Earth Release Swamp of the Underworld. This technique could create a swamp by chaining the surrounding ground beneath the target into the mud. The mud is infused with chakra to make it sticky, ensnaring the target and preventing escape. The technique is designed to target multiple targets or especially large targets, as a sufficiently skilled practitioner can temporarily trap targets, rivaling the size and strength of the tailed beasts. This technique does not have to be summoned to the floor, however, adding to its versatility, as it can be projected on walls and ceilings as long as the transmuted surface is earth. The technique is useless against a continuously airborne target, but very few shinobi are capable of sustained or indefinite combat and movement in the air, and most, if not all shinobi, eventually have to plant their feet on the ground. Beyond A-rank jutsus are the jutsus can be considered the most powerful form of earth-style jutsus. A powerful shinobi named Deidara uses a powerful line of hidden jutsus derived from the same technique, explosive clay. Deidara is capable of molding chakra into clay, turning it into a deadly explosive with a range of damage and magnitude. This is a forbidden technique passed down from Iwakagure, capable of unleashing explosions with the power and force to match small thermonuclear bombs. Deidara can create dolls, clones, traps, landmines, and projectiles of this clay and can use them to great effect. He has two trump card techniques, the C4 Garuda technique, which releases millions of microscopic bombs, capable of annihilating an enemy from a microscopic level, and the C0 Ultimate Art. The Ultimate Art is a suicide technique, but generates an explosion so powerful it creates an explosion that covers a 10-kilometer blast radius. While Earth-style jutsus have a weakness to lightning nature chakra, the sheer force and power of the C0 technique such that the only means of escaping the destruction is by escaping the blast radius, a task that is nigh impossible for any shinobi without some form of space-time ninjutsu. Of course, unfortunately, this technique doesn't count, as explosive clay is a combination of earth nature chakra and explosive nature chakra, meaning it breaks the rule of only earth-related chakra. In my opinion, this leaves the Earth Release, lightweight, and ultra-lightweight rock techniques as the most powerful technique in the Earth Jutsu repertoire. The ability to lower the weight of anyone or anything allows the user to shift the Earth, themselves, and their opponent through chakra manipulation, and a sufficiently skilled opponent is virtually untouchable high in the air, leaving them free to blast down jutsus and weapons from on high, while not as physically devastating as the sandwich technique, which can even generate mountain-sized stones and beyond to annihilate an enemy. A technique that makes it possible to lift an entire meteor, or island, is ultimately more capable of large-scale destruction. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it! Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, we the Celestials have got you covered. Our We the Celestials My Hero Academia and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, then I'd like to extend you an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being that we only accept members from 16 years and up to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interest by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching, and have a great day.